I'm excited and nervous, and actually, I really don't know how this will turn out. Hi, guys. Today it's an experiment. I hope it won't damage my algorithm because it took me forever to kind of bring it back to life. But in case you guys don't know, I have a podcast called The Anxiety Blender. And in this podcast, I talk about mental health. Of course, I'm not a professional, but I try to collect information for you guys, tell stories. I want mental health to be normalized. I want it to be something we can easily talk about, share our experience, help each other. My main goal, my main focus, everything I do is help people feeling better, whether that is ASMR, whether that is my podcast, whether that is my personal page with makeup and lifestyle, whatever. We will mention that today, so that's why I'm bringing this out. But basically, yes, my goal is to try my best. Even though I'm a very small person in this huge universe, my goal is to try my best and make this world a better place because I need that. So maybe you need that too. And if you don't, that's okay. But yeah, so I'm looking awful. I don't have my makeup on, but I wanted to try this experiment and I didn't want to feel the pressure of looking all put together and stuff because I want this to be natural. And more than everything, as I said, I'm recording the podcast, so there will be the vocal trace that will be releasing on all podcast platforms. But at the same time, I want to share this video. Hopefully, you'll feel relaxed. Hopefully, you'll feel inspired. I don't know. For the sake of the podcast, I will be reading. I have everything written down here because I have such a roller coaster of emotions, so I couldn't just sit here and ramble. So, if you don't mind, I will be just reading and yeah, I hope you will like it. If you will, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and eventually have a look at my podcast. I have all my ASMR content there. I'm slowly uploading it and also other episodes. And let me know if you want to see more of this. Right, so let's get started. Today is gonna be an intimate and cozy one. I would just love to keep you updated with my current life situation and struggles. Before we get started, I'd ask you to like or rate this podcast a 5 star and eventually write a positive review according to the platform you are listening to it because it really helps. So get comfy, maybe grab a cup of warm tea, wrap up yourself in a soft blanket, and let's get started. I'd love to make this story look like it's an easy one, those where everything fast forwards to the point where the hero is finally fine and happy, spreading joy to the world. Actually, though, that never made me feel good. It always felt so fictional and made the gap between movies and or documentaries and reality even wider. Real life is made of ups and downs, of moments where you feel like you got everything together, and moments where everything falls apart and you lose control. I've been thinking about today's episode the entire week, and the story I wanted to tell you yesterday was completely different from the one I wanted to tell you 5 days ago. The crazy fact is that the story I'll tell you today is even more different. You might be wondering how and why, and trust me, so am I. My emotions change so quickly, and they affect the way I perceive reality, involving unpredictable plot twists that make it hard to keep up with all the random things that are happening. So let's proceed with order and lucidity. In case you've missed my previous episodes, I'll quickly update you by telling that I've experienced a very bad, rough burnout. I'm currently getting help at a mental health center where I underwent a personality test that apparently showed I had some borderline personality disease traits. I was just trying to metabolize this last fact when things started getting really twisted. Since my burnout, I felt kind of interrupted. Therapy is going at a very slow pace due to them being very busy with lots of patients. So the only thing that made sense to me was to pause my life until I was re educated to it through therapy. I isolated myself from the outer world. My friends kept asking for explanations I couldn't and I didn't want to give. The ones on my wrists were too obvious not to induce people to notice them and eventually ask questions. And since I numbed my anxiety with food, I felt too uncomfortable to show my weight gains and have to deal with reactions to this. So it only made sense to just recover in my own privacy. I started working and putting a lot of effort into my podcast and ASMR channel. Then results started to come. They were very small, but they gave me the motivation to keep going, keep learning, keep doing better. As I previously said, I found a passion that finally made me happy to wake up every morning and started getting things done rather than cursing the new day and me being alive again. Then, one day, a prestigious private school in my city called. A month ago, I was chatting on Instagram with a girl who works there and is from my hometown. We were surprised by the fact that we never met before, being from the same old small town and having talked for the first time on Instagram thanks to the fact that I geolocalized one of my stories. What a coincidence! She complimented me for my English speaking skills and advised me to send my resume to that school. I told her I only had a bachelor's degree and was not a candidate for their standards, but I sent that anyway, just in case, with no expectations. So, surprise, surprise, the school director calls me on a Friday, scheduling an interview for the upcoming Monday. Scared and excited, I decided to text that girl who replied me that it was unfair for me to waste my life working at a fast food and told me she personally talked about me to the director. She told her I was extremely talented, that I had a YouTube channel and a podcast, and that I had a wonderful qualities. Therefore, I was a resource for that school. I'm not gonna mention this girl's name for privacy reasons, of course. I couldn't believe it. Somebody doing something so kind for the genuine pleasure to help me. I was so grateful to her, yet extremely nervous because I knew the school had a reputation and I had limited certifications and experience. Monday came. The previous weekend, I tried so many speeches in front of the mirror in order to impress and appear prepared, so that day I was confident. Despite my limits, I knew what to say. I didn't want to look like I was improvising whatsoever. The interview went so well, I was supposed to start the very next day, Tuesday. I had to cover three roles. Two of them were life and career goals. The third one was so awful, I was afraid it could affect the previously mentioned ones negatively as well. Especially because it was the main role, the main reason why I was being hired. Of course, I tried to tell them I wasn't really into that and that I was very intimidated, but the two other roles were just fillers to that main activity, so I guess I had no choice. Coming back from the interview, everybody was so hype, willing to know the outcome of it. I could see my mom's eyes being filled with happy tears. My dad called me to congratulate, and so my boyfriend and grandmother did. Then I called the Instagram friend who was extremely happy for me as well, and I couldn't thank her enough for what she did. That was the dream of a lifetime. Who helps you get your dream job during a pandemic? My mom even took me shopping and bought me fancy clothes for my new fancy occupation. But while everybody was so happy and positive, there was a huge shadow inside of me. It wasn't fear, it was mostly denial, maybe. I was thinking about my beautiful routine, my habits, and my goals. How Was I supposed to pursue them if I had to put my energies in doing something I knew I didn't want to do? At the same time, how could I have said no to such an opportunity? How could I have justified that no to all of those who were expecting a yes, please? I felt like I had no choice, especially because I didn't want to have to deal with the regret of not even trying. Guys, that's hard. I'm gonna try not to break down and cry. Tuesday came. I drove to the center city, and while freaking out to find a parking space among the traffic, I was already hating to picture myself doing this every day. But whatever. If the job was good and rewarding enough, that wouldn't have been a problem. I got to the school quite earlier, so the employee in charge of showing and explaining me everything took advantage of that to get started immediately. When she started describing in detail what my main role was supposed to be, I was even more intimidated and disgusted. Not because I'm a snob, lazy one, but because I felt overwhelmed. I felt like that was not what I wanted to do, and I was trapped in a job I hated for so long. I was too afraid to start all over. A quick fast forward to my analyst's diagnosis could clear that out, but to me, it messes it up even more instead. According to his opinion, I have an identity disorder, which makes it hard for me to define who I really am and leads me to identify with things. The job I do becomes who I am. So if I am not proud of that, it distorts my self image completely. I can kind of relate, but always according to him. He could say whatever, and I'd still relate, which I find denigrating. And fast forward to now, it's so hard to process. Going back to that moment though, I really felt like my whole self was being translated to that role, but mostly because that brought me very bad memories rather than me feeling downgraded for any social aspect related reason. Anyway, I loved one of the two other roles I was supposed to cover. The second one would have come far later though, which kinda disappointed me because it was actually my very favorite. Then, after all the theoretical explanation, it's time to put things into practice. I was thrown into my new job without even getting the chance to have a conversation with the children I had to deal with. I was supposed to do what I had to, and I won't specify for privacy reasons, but this main role was not teaching, unfortunately. I didn't even know their names. I had no experience with children and I had no idea on how to entertain them, call their attention, or get them to listen to me. They kept yelling, running, screaming, and doing whatever they wanted to do, regardless their awareness of respecting the rules. You will think that it's obvious because they are children, but if that's your responsibility to make sure they don't get hurt, don't bother other classes, respect the social distancing and all the COVID 19 restrictions while not knowing how to relate with them, it gets very overwhelming. Especially if there's an employee that is supposed to give you tips and assist you, but all she does is telling you you should do more and better. She wasn't rude, but I guess my analyst would define her attitude as he defines mine, passive aggressive. She kept giving me disapproval gazes, telling me to be quicker and more organized, to make children sing songs. Wait, what? What do children sing, and what should I organize, and how? Whenever she realized I was panicking and she was probably being too rude, she would just tap my shoulder and smile at me, telling me things would get better with time. But I hated the role so bad, no time could have fixed it. When I signed the contract, there were a couple points that left me a little disappointed, but I will repeat that again, such a job opportunity comes only once in a lifetime. Plus, from Monday to Friday, weekends off, no night shift, not too early mornings. I mean, that was perfect. But I just couldn't stand that rule. While driving home, the idea in my mind was so clear. I was and I am so ashamed of saying it out loud. I hated that. I hated the responsibility. I hated feeling so powerless and overwhelmed by a class of 19 loud and full of energy children that honestly have all the right to be willing to unwind, run, and play. But I never liked children. How was I supposed to deal with them every day? I wasn't ready to allow discomfort and even more intrusive thoughts to enter in my life. I couldn't feel like things could have changed for good, or I couldn't handle the weight. I just knew that all of a sudden I was back to those very bad thoughts that were finally about to leave space to do something constructive with my life. I felt like that new job, even if it was part time, would have intoxicated my brain again, taken away my energy and creativity, forcing me to neglect my projects again. Yes, as everybody said, I still had enough free time to take care of those projects, but for once I knew what I wanted to do with my life. And I've wanted it so bad for so long, but I didn't have the courage to admit that. It's non conventional, for most people unacceptable, and that's why I always thought it should always have been a side project while I was doing real adult things. But results started coming when I started treating it as a real full time job. So I wasn't ready to stop watering the seed while it was just about to bloom. Dedicating it just my spare time was never enough, and it can't be now. This is what makes me happy. This is what makes me proud. That job was awesome, but I wasn't ready. I regret this choice as soon as I will be healthier. Most likely, yes, or maybe no. I apologized so bad to the girl who helped me get the job because she exposed herself into her work environment and I let her down. She told me to think about it, that there is possibility of growth and stability in there, and that few hours are not enough to take a decision of a lifetime. My analyst agrees and adds that my isolation forced me to lose a very important ability, which is to be in social context, especially work wise. He also added that if I keep feeding my fears, I could end up developing major disability. This scares me, but fear aside, for once I feel like I knew what I want to do in my life, and I don't want to waste time on something that brought me back to the beginning of this hell. I think he claims I should just have turned down their proposal because me accepting and giving up after one day was again a passive aggressive behavior, like my burnout peak was. It's just that I couldn't just say no. I at least had to try, just in case I really enjoyed it, first of all. And yes, also because by doing so, people around me would have judged me. I had the will because I tried. I know it's stupid and I'm so ashamed of myself. And yes, this is being passive aggressive, but I don't know any other way to deal with things that are bigger than me. I want to change, I want to improve, and therapy will help me. Up until before my last mental health session, I was learning to vibe with the fact that I, for once, wanted to pursue something I liked rather than sacrificing it for other people's expectations. But then his diagnosis kind of killed me, metaphorically. Besides the borderline aspect, this identity disorder is really what hurts me the most. In the personality test, I answered positively to a lot of random questions belonging to several fields, and when I was asked to give examples, I wasn't able to bring any. Same happened when he asked me why I did some things, bad self harm related things that usually had a reason, appeared to be underrated and unjustified by me. He also added that or I am hiding him things or I am constantly acting a part. I felt offended because I felt like during those sessions it was the only moment where I could actually take that mask off and just be me, the horrible, insecure, fragile, angry me, and oh yes, the passive aggressive me. But apparently, I was wrong. I thought I told him why I did the things I did. I also told him that the first time I harmed myself was because I had seen it in a movie in my early teenage years, and he finds it very worrying because me not having a proper identity could indeed bring me to find it into those that could be the wrong models. I could potentially develop a psychiatric condition by just willing to inspire myself to a certain person I might find charming for some reason, and that's potentially very dangerous. I was so shook by his words that I didn't even know what to say. Who am I then? Why am I even sharing something so private and harmful? I might not be able to answer the first question yet. Through therapy and behavioral psychology, I will. But I know the answer to the second question. I'm tired. Tired of the stigma. Tired of judgment. Tired of people hurting themselves because they fear they are not accepted. And I honestly think that even though I've seen it in a movie, the reason why I harmed myself was because there was something wrong inside of me, even though I might not be able to explain or describe that. If I were feeling okay, I certainly wouldn't have done that. Here I am, with all my flaws and weaknesses, with all my insecurities, telling you that we've got this, we will be okay. If you look at my personal Instagram at Valentina Buzzoni89, you'd never guess that that smiling, happy, healthy girl is actually me. That account represents the mask I wear every day. The doctor's diagnosis make me react the only way I know, passive aggressively. At times I hate myself. At times I hate him for having such a low opinion on me. At times I'm mad. I also want to learn though. I want to learn doing things because I like them without constantly trying to be a character. I want to learn to separate myself from the situations I'm in without allowing them to define me. Because my maniacal dedication to trends that come and go in my life only brings me to be burned out, and sometimes it's hard to reset, like in this case. I feel interrupted, yes, movie quote, terrified and also curious, craving for a better, more aware, and mindful version of myself to come. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be quick? Absolutely not. There will be many bumps, but we can and we will feel better. As I said, this was a lot. Um, Probably many of you will not watch. Probably many of you just opened this video and then immediately clicked out. If you're still here, most likely you'll be thinking I'm stupid or full of fears and paranoids whatsoever, and probably I am. But you know what? It's okay not to be okay. And even though everybody says it, I really mean it. I am not okay. I put a mask all the time. I'm constantly acting. That is true. And those words really hurted me so bad because I don't know who I am. And that's true. I've spent my entire life trying to fulfill all the people around me, trying to be the best version of myself and feeling that that was never enough. Every time I reached a goal, I was competing against my old self to be better. I was doing that in an unhealthy way, though. I felt like I was always inconsistent. I was never enough. I was always so insecure. And I did things just because I had to. I went to the most prestigious school in my city because I had to, not because I wanted to. And yes, I'm grateful to the preparation it gave me, of course, but at the same time, I wanted to be a hairstylist or I wanted to go to art school. And everybody kept telling me that I had a talent, that I was a great student, so I wasn't supposed to do that. I should have taken advantage of my capabilities because by doing so, my job opportunities would have been wider and better. So I went ahead and then I went to university and I kept staying in that same field that I was I was convinced it was my field, but I never really belonged. And right after my burnout, I really wanted to jump straight into doing other things like a a secretary course, managing course, an industry management course that was like 3,000 euros, and I hate management. I I hate numbers. I hate everything that has to deal with that. But I didn't know what to do. I still don't know what to do. I mean, right now, I want to pursue my YouTube and my podcasting dream, but my therapist told me that probably it's just me trying to identify myself in something else. So, is it really me? I don't know anymore. Will I get burned out of this as well? And what am I gonna be next? That's terrifying. But I also want to open up about that because probably there is, I mean, not probably, for sure, there is somebody else struggling against this in the world. And I want you to know that you're not alone. Whatever you're struggling against, you're not alone. So, yeah, I might be weird. I might be a freak. I might be whatever. And I already know that the simple fact of me not looking all put together right now will prevent this video from getting the attention it deserves. But at the same time, I really want to put that out there like this genuinely. So, yeah, here I am. I hope this can help. And yeah, I guess that's it. I'll stop the rambling. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you found that inspiring or at least entertaining. Always remember to hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at TingleStorm ASMR if you need to talk or want to hear about something specific in the upcoming episodes. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, please rate it a 5 stars. If you are on any other platform, just add a positive reaction or review because it really helps. Thank you so much again, and I'll talk to you next time. Have a great rest of your day. Oh, yeah, let me know if you want to see more of this. I can definitely do more. Or if I should just stick to my ASMR content and still get you relaxed. Bye.